Welcome everybody to the live. We're going live on LinkedIn. We're going live on YouTube. And the main purpose of this live is to talk about POAMs, plan of actions, and kind of go more in depth about what it is, how do you do it, and things like that. I think it's much needed. I think POAMs are much needed in this space because you need to learn some of the basics to kind of understand the bigger picture, especially with RMF GRC. Learning POAMs is kind of the basis of what you need to know. You got to learn POAMs. If you don't know how to do POAMs, you can't transition to different aspects of GRC or RMF, especially with going later on with AI, with FedRAMP and all these things coming apart. If you don't know those basics, then you need to know. So that's why I created a course. I created a POAM called RMF Academy. We have POAMs, things like that. There's a course on there. So I just wanted to kind of explain what POAMs are, and I'm gonna break it down. So just so you know, I'm Chris Okpala. I'm an RMF specialist inside the GovTech space. I've been doing it for about 5 years. I've been doing it for a long, long time. And one of the first things that I struggled with when I first got into the GRC space is what are POAMs, how to do them, and what's going on with it. So I created this morning to kind of go over what POAMs are, and then so we're just gonna get straight into it. I'm gonna just share the slides. I'm gonna wait a couple minutes to get people in, but I'm about to load the slides that kind of break down what POAMs are. So I'm loading the slides now. We're gonna just go over the basics of what POAMs are. It's gonna pop up in a couple of seconds, so just bear with me. And again, I'm Chris Okpala, RMF Space, and I've been doing this for a while. So we're gonna just do this little masterclass on how to do POAMs, or what they are and what the basics are. So it should be popping up in just a couple of minutes. If you're in the chat, just say something to let me know you're there. Say something. Okay, it's popped up, so I'm going to pull it up. So we're going to go over the basics. Understand POAMs and RMF. RMF is not just for RMF. POAMs can go to GRC, go to RMF, and in general, it can just go on in life because you got to understand how you're going to remediate something if you're given it. So a plan of action is a plan of action, a milestone. A plan of action is a plan on how you're going to remediate something. So we're just going to go over that. So the definition. Hey, what's good, Dante? How you doing? Yeah, we about to go over it. Thank you for responding. So the definition of a plan of action and milestones, a plan of action and milestone POAM, that's the abbreviation that people use. You know, in the tech spaces, we all use different abbreviations, and this is one of the ones that we use. It's a formal document in RMF that identifies and tracks and remediates security weaknesses in information systems. So for hypothetically, say you get a STIG vulnerability, Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 3, or say, for example, you get a high ACAS scan or some ACAS scan that needs to be remediated. You get this, and it's going to break it down. Okay, you're getting this high vulnerability. You're going to use it, and you're going to create a plan on how to do that, and that's what we're going to explain. So, the purpose of a POAM is to track unresolved security findings, document remediation steps, and assign responsibilities and deadlines, and demonstrate ongoing risk assessment. So like I was saying, it kind of tracks the unresolved security findings, documents everything, and assign responsibility and deadline and demonstrate ongoing risk. So that's everything you need to know with the purpose of doing it. So the key components of a POAM, usually you're going to have a POAM ID, a control ID, a weakness description, a risk level, whoever's responsible, a deadline. You're going to have mitigation actions and milestones for a POAM. So this is all the things that go into a POAM, and that's kind of everything you need to know when having these concepts with a POAM. Where it fits in RMF, like I said, if it fits in RMF and GRC, it appears in step 5, authorize. So basically, it continues through step 6 of the monitor, okay? Of the monitor, I'm talking about the RMF steps. Why it's required, why it matters. It's required for authorization for an ATO, and also in GRC, just mitigating and making sure you have all your things put together. So if anybody comes to audit your system, you know what's coming on. and it shows the active mitigations, and it keeps the teams and stakeholders accountable. So, hey Aaron, how you doing? Appreciate you coming on. So it keeps the teams and stakeholders accountable. So that's the whole purpose of why having POAMs matter, and it's very important. Okay, so we have what our POAMs are. We got a kind of understanding what they are, have it all here. So we're going to go into, I'm going to show another, we're going to actually go through some POAMs to kind of show you what you're supposed to do to mitigate them. So we're going to actually go into it. Let me share my screen. Okay, so this is a hypothetical POAM template of what POAMs usually look like. Usually, when you're working on a system, is usually you're using some type of GRC or RMF tool, like an EMAS, like an Archer. But this is kind of how it looks, you know. So this is usually what it asks for. For this one particularly, it asks for more than usual, you know, just so you can get a better understanding of what it is. So usually with a POAM, you have the system name, you put it underneath. Okay, so usually for the POAM ID, when for a POAM, you're going to have like it's random. So in this example, is V1, it could be V2, it could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Usually is randomly generated. Or if you're doing it manually, sometimes with the program, you can have specific numbers you're giving it to track it. But usually it's just a random number that's used to track that POAM in case you ever lose it or need to find it. Controls. Okay, usually with POAMs, they have different control types. It can be an AC1, AC2. In the government space, it's going to be a control type. So it's going to be AC1, AC2 because we're going off the NIST guidelines. And this hypothetical example is AC1, you know, AC2. So that's what it's going to be when you're doing a POAM. Weakness name. Usually, you're putting in the name of the weakness provided by a vulnerability. We're going to go over some ACAS. We're going to go through one just so you can get an understanding of what POAMs are. And hopefully that helps. But we're going to go to an example of what it is. So usually it's like with the name of the vulnerability, okay, or weakness. And it's usually weakness name. So weakness description, a weakness description is going to be something like describing what it was. Like say if you're getting a vulnerability scan, it's going to tell you specifically what it is. So it's weakness description. The weakness detecting source when doing a POAM is going to be, the detecting source is going to be something like a Nessus scan, ACAS scan. There's so many types of scans, but it's going to be something that detecting the source. Weakness source identifier is usually like a plugin. If it has it, sometimes it don't apply, but something like that. Asset identifier is going to be an IP number. It's going to be an IP. Sometimes if you're doing an ACAS vulnerability scan or some type of scan, you're going to have an IP number. Point of contact is the person that's going to be responsible of doing this. So say I'm working with a system administrator, it can be Windows system administrator. That's who's going to be in particularly I'm reaching out to help get this vulnerability scan fixed. So I'm going to say John Doe, Windows administrator John Doe. That's going to be somebody that you're going to be reaching out to. Resources required. Sometimes you're just putting in resources you need to get it remediated. But sometimes this is not required. It's just over information. Overall remediation plan. The overall remediation plan is just the plan on how to get this vulnerability remediated. And it can have milestones and things like that. But that's the overall remediation plan on what needs to be done to get this fixed. The original detection date, and again, there's a lot of this stuff is added on just to help you understand it needs as much information as possible. But the original detection date is usually like when you originally detected. It can be yesterday, tomorrow, the day before, even today. And we go over example, then we're going to more in depth on how to detect this. Scheduled completion date, okay, is when we're expected to complete it. So that's what we're going to do for the scheduled completion date. Okay. Plan milestones is how you break down how you're going to get each step done. Milestones changes. You only do this if you're changing milestone. But again, usually when you're doing a plan of action and milestone, you change it in here. But we just have this for example. Status date. Date point IAM was changed or closed. So you're just putting, you know, when it was closed out. So you're just status date if we close it. Vendor dependency, if it's not, yes or no. We usually don't have this on regular POAMs, but we just, it's on here. Original risk rating, you just give it the original rating. Sometimes for a vulnerability scan, it can be high. The adjusted risk rating is when you have something to lower it, and then this is risk adjustment to readjust it based on the reason why we're reducing the risk. Okay. False positive, you put it false positive, yes or no. There's a lot of stuff's added on here so you can get a better understanding what POAMs are. Operational requirement, yes, no. And then the mitigation, deviation, rationale is basically explaining why you're remediating this risk, why you lowering this risk lower. Sometimes with POAMs, you need supporting documents. You put it here if you need it. And then comments are just any updates that you want to put on there. So that's kind of breaking down what a POAM is. Does anybody tracking? Anybody have anything? I'm about to look at the chat to see if anybody's saying anything. Okay. So if anybody had any questions, say it in the chat so we can kind of go in more depth. But did anybody say anything? Anybody got any questions on what POAMs are? Okay. Nobody say none. So I'm just going to move on. So we're going to go over how to do a POAMs from scratch. So we're going to do this from scratch. We're going to just kind of show you like how you would do one. And again, I'm an RMS specialist in the GovTech space. I do this, been doing this for a while, and I'm about to show you how, in general, how to do it. I'm about to go back again. So we're going to share the screen again, and we're going to do one from literally scratch. Okay. Okay, so we're sharing the screen now. Okay, so now we're going to do a POAM from scratch to kind of explain how you should do a POAM. It's going to take a little bit. We might do one or two depending on how people react, but we're going to just do one. So with a POAM again, POAM ID, usually for POAM IDs, it's going to probably be randomized or you have a unique one for your system. For me, we're doing a hypothetical example. So I'm just going to just put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You okay? Okay. So we're going to do it off an ACAS scan. We see if this is a fake ACAS scan I created. This is generally how it looked like. The only thing it's probably missing, sometimes they have the controls that they assign, but usually if they don't have one, we just default to CM6. That's what I do for my program. So we're going to just do it off of this one. Okay, so since we don't have a control, we're just going to default to CM6. But usually when you do an ACAS scan, sometimes it has it on there. Weakness name. So we're going to go to the ACAS scan. We're just going to pick one. Windows, Microsoft Windows SMB server detection. We're going to use that one. Google, it's not working right. Okay, there we go. Microsoft Windows SMB V1 server detection. So we got that weakness name on there. So the weakness description. What is the weakness description? I don't know. So we're going to go to this ACAS. Again, this is a randomly generated ACAS scan. This is not real. This is all hypothetical. It doesn't belong to any system. Okay. Google acting a little funny. So you put the weakness description in there. So SMBV1 is enabled, exposing systems to WannaCry type vulnerabilities. And this is all hypothetical. So for the weakness description, weakness detector source for this ACAS scan is going to be ACAS. We're using ACAS. Okay, weakness identifier source. It can be a plugin. Does this ACAS scan have a plugin number? Yes, it does. So since this ACAS scan has a plugin number, we're going to take this plugin. I'm going to copy it. We're going to put it as the identifier. So in case somebody wants to go look, they can go put it in here. Okay, push play. Okay, asset identifier. So again, you're going to use something like an IP number or something like that. We're going to probably use this identifying number. So we're going to use this for this. So that's what it is. That's the IP number. So this is a hypothetical situation. This is a Windows vulnerability. So we're just going to make up somebody. We're going to just say my name. Christopher Okpala, Windows admin. That's going to be the primary source of contact. You know what I'm saying? Resources required, needed, beyond, specified resources needed. Specified resources needed beyond current resources to mitigate disaster. So I don't have any. I know what's going to be needed to get this done, so I'm not going to fill this one out because we already know who's going to do this. So usually in the ACAT scan, it tells you what needs to be fixed. So fix recommendation in this ACAT scan. Again, this is hypothetical one. So original overall remediation plan. This is what needs to be done. Okay, the date the weakness was first identified. Since we're doing it today, let me see if there's any dates on here. So there's no dates on this one. So I'm gonna give it today. Identified Saturday. While I'm working on Saturday, I have no idea, but I'm doing this on Saturday. Scheduled completion date. Permanent date of intended completion date. Since this is a high vulnerability, you try to get them done within 30 days. So we're trying to get it done by 6/10. So we're gonna do it by 6/10. Milestones. There's a lot of things that have people get difficult with. So when you're thinking about milestones, you gotta kind of think about it like 1, 2, 3. So when you're doing a milestone, you gotta think about it like this. So for this one, the first step, what would you do? Reach out to Windows admin. That's the first thing I would do, and we're gonna do it by 5/10 today. And this is all hypothetical. Okay, 2. We're going to reach out to see if reach out to see if it's been fixed weekly. You don't want to do it every day. You want to give them some time. So we're going to do it weekly. What date should I do? It's 5/10 now. So we gave it till 6/10. I say June 6th is enough. June 6th. We're going to reach out weekly. That's how you do that. And then 3, we gave it 6/10. Close out vulnerability once it has been completed. So I'm gonna close out vulnerability once it's been cleaned. I'm gonna give it a date of 6/10. Okay, so that's how you do POA&Ms. You got to think about it. Just think about it logically. Like, what needs to be done to get something fixed? And usually you update it here if say if you needed to do something else. But in this hypothetical example, you put the milestone changes in here and you update the status date in here, So vendor dependencies is, from what I know, is not vendor dependent. So I'm just putting vendor dependent. You don't have to fill out any of this. So The original risk rating. What is the original risk rating in this? The original risk rating is high. So since this is high, we're going to have to do it again. We're going to have to rate it as high. So it's high. Adjusted mid rating, we can probably get it down to a moderate, and we'll explain how later. Whether this was a risk adjustment, yes. Is a false positive? Not to my knowledge, but no. Operational requirement, I'm assuming yes. So when mitigations, you got to think about it like this. What are things that you have in place to reduce this vulnerability? Okay. What are things that you have in place to make sure this is not going to cause a problem? So I'm just going to just give you a hypothetical situation. So our cybersecurity professionals don't get too triggered, but I'm just going to put things down that could potentially reduce this risk. Okay. Currently, the program has vulnerability scanners to monitor this risk. The program also has firewalls in place to monitor the risk. And hypothetically, the program is in a DMZ, so it is segmented it off from the program. So again, this is hypothetical. So those are the things that are in place to reduce this risk, to take it from a high to a moderate, to lower the risk rating. Again, this is RMF, risk management. So we're lowering the risk of this. For this, know some more in documents. We have to remediate this. Comments. This is for additional information. You just put any comments of anything that's updated. So I'm gonna take a look at the comments just to see if you want me to do another one, just to kind of go in a little bit more in depth. Okay, from Shade, what foundational knowledge or skills would you have to have before diving into POA&M training? I mean, is it easier to understand and apply? And can I get into the field with no experience? So in RMF, you can get into the experience. You can get into this field with no experience. I would recommend you have a security plus. A security plus will help you for this career field, just the basic fundamentals. What foundational knowledge I have some before diving into POA&M? You can be anybody. You can be a person of anybody's knowledge to start learning POAMs. POAMs is a foundational for GRC and RMF, so anybody can do it. You just got to start practicing or understand the concept of it, and basically it's easier to understand and apply. Yeah, so it helps you understand and apply. Is there an application for the poem? Is there an application for poems, or is this template created manually? So this one I created manually, or have manually. It's in the RMF Academy course. So if you ever want to check out that course, get it. You can download it from there when you buy the course. But you can create one, but mine's more accurate to the field. Yeah. Would you be from Dante Smith? What would be the correct way to verify if it's a false positive? Is it on you to check the ACAS or system owner? So I have this happen before. Sometimes when you have false positive in this field, you have a lot of false positives sometimes. What you need to do as the RMS specialist, as the GRC specialist, you need to reach out to your system admin to see if we have it, if this vulnerability pertains to the system. If he's saying it's not and it's keep coming up on the system, you get some evidence from saying this doesn't apply. Sometimes you take that and you take it to the people that scan the vulnerability scans, let them know it's a false positive and they'll be removed. If it keeps coming up, it may not be a false positive, it may still be, but if your team is saying it's not one and it's still popping up as a false positive, that's from my experience. Did that help you out, Dante? Okay. Did y'all want me to go over one more ACAS scan just to kind of show you how y'all want, just to kind of go over one more POA&M just so you can understand how it works? And I can just give you a hypothetical one. Would that help? I'm gonna just Yeah, so I'm gonna thank you, Brianna. You said good knowledge. Okay, so we're gonna go over one more ACAS scan so y'all can understand. To all the new people that's coming on, just so you can understand the basics of POA&M scan. So we're gonna go over it again. Okay, so we're gonna do it. We're gonna do another one so you can understand. And there's different types of POA&Ms you can do just so you can know. There's POA&Ms you can do for documentation. There's POA&Ms you can do for testing controls. There's POA&Ms for different scenarios, and you can see that all in RMF Academy. If you want to check that out, RMF Academy will break down how to do this in a better way, and it'll explain the foundations from POA&Ms from the beginning to the end. But we're going to go over another POA&M right now. We're going to go through another ACAS scan. So, okay, when you go over POA&Ms again, a lot of times with POA&M ID is automatically generated, auto-generated. So it can be different scenarios. So okay, so we're just going to come up with a random number. But again, it can be a program can have their own way of how they do it. And then sometimes it's just auto generated. So I'm just going to just come up with a number. I'll say 4, 5, 6, 7. And don't judge me. Okay. Again, since these ACAS scans don't have a controls, we're going to default to CM6. But for this one, for a different example, I will just put in AC1 just to have it. This doesn't necessarily apply to AC1. We're just using it as an example. So you can see different variations. Okay, so with weakness, we're going to do this time, I'm going to pick one. We're going to do this one. Windows 10. I'm not even sure if we still use Windows. Is it upgraded? Windows 10. And again, with ACAS scans, usually they are generated from somebody else and they send it back to you. Okay. So the weakness name. Google's not working right for me. Here we go. We got Windows 10 missing security patch. Okay, so we got the weakness name from it tells you the name. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna go back. What is it asking for now? Weakness description. If anybody's watching, we're gonna go over what is the weakness description for this. We're gonna do this together. If anybody watching, I can't see, just tell me the weakness description. Okay, the weakness description is okay. So we're identifying it is going to be ACAS. Source identifier. Okay, ACAS plugin. So source identifier is going to be the plugin from this ACAS scan. Asset identifier. And again, these are all hypothetical in case anybody try to say, nope, this is auto generated. So we're going to do that. So for the point of content, again, we're going to go with Christopher Okpala, the Windows admin, just for this example. In the future, we'll just do live examples where I throw a whole scenario at, just so we can just solve it together. Okay, overall remediation. So we're going to go to the ACAS scan. What needs to be fixed? So we're going to go to find a remediation solution. And this is what's recommended to fix this. Apply to update. So this is the overall remediation plan. It's Google not working right. There we go. Original detection date, we're going to just use today for a hypothetical example. Scheduled completion, this is a critical high. We're going to just get it done by 610. Well, 610. Sorry, let me move this back to 510. Okay, so how are we going to fix this? Same thing. You don't have to always change it. You can keep it the same. One, we're going to reach out to the Windows admin to see if this vulnerability still applies. We're going to do that 510. 2, I'm going to reach out to the Windows admin weekly to see if it has been fixed. 3, we're gonna close out once remediated. 610 2025. So that's basically what you're going to be putting in. And you put any changes here, but usually you put it in here when you actually do a vulnerability. When you're actually doing the GRC software, no, it's not vendor dependent. Last check-in. So it's currently a high. It's a high finding. So we're going to lower it down to a moderate. We're going to say yes, no false positive, operation required, no. And we're gonna basically say this. I mean, a lot of things don't change for a program. If there's things in place, for this one, this is pretty much going to be the same to lower it, depending on the program, though. Sometimes it can be on certain networks, so they can't even access it. Certain networks that they can access, you can put it in here also. It requires no supporting document. Usually, you have supporting documents if you're creating an ACAS pen, ACAS. I'm sorry, access control policy, SSP, things like that. That need to be updated. And comments are anything that's new that needs to be updated. I'm going to take a look at some of the comments to see if I can answer some questions. Okay, let me read some of the. Hold on, let me say. So we see, what does plan of action and milestones stand for? From Dewan Williams. Plan of action and milestones. That's what it stands for. Okay. We have from Dante Smith. Is it safe? Is it safe? Is it safe to say that this is a living document that is attached to a registry? I'm not sure what you're asking with that. With that one. Oh, are you saying that are you saying the poems are attached to a system? If you're asking that, then yes, it's a live document on a system. Okay. Would it be safe to say that a living document that is added to a registry or utilized different manner? I'm kind of confused on this question. Okay, it updates. Yeah, it's a live. If you're asking if it's a live document on this, yeah, it changes over time. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions? If you live on LinkedIn, YouTube, or anything, let me know if you had any other questions. I'm going to share one more thing before we close out, but I'm going to give you some time to answer any questions if you want it. Okay. I'll come back to it one last time to ask some questions. I'm going to share this last thing. So, for everybody that's checking out, check out RMF Academy. We have the POA&M mastery course. It goes over everything with POEMs. I've been working in the field for a while, so I understand how this works. It's going to go over poems, how to do how they generate it, how they start it, what's needed for a poem, how to do documentation poems, vulnerability scans, and it gives you some documents inside of that, like certain NIST documents, certain documents you need to create. It gives you a POA&M template and templates on how to get started in doing POAMs to better understand GRC and RMF 97. And then also too, for anybody that's watching, join the email list because weekly I'm going to start sharing. Just go on the website, rmfacademy.com, join the email list to get any updates on what RMF is, any news on RMF, things you need to know on RMF. I'm going to be doing this newsletter weekly. So just check this out, RMF Academy, and check out the newsletter for that too. But this is a good course if you want to check out how to get into RMF. It will really help you out. Do we have any more questions? So we have somebody, how about the clearance? How would I go about accessing one? I've had a hard time trying to get into the GovTech space because of that. Okay, like when you're trying to get a clearance, how I got a clearance, I became in as a background investigator. I got a clearance early on, but I will suggest to you, if you have the experience in cybersecurity, just keep applying. Somebody might sponsor you. If you can't get sponsored for a clearance in that way, you can become a janitor. You can become a security guard. Those are different options on how to get a clearance. I've seen people become a security guard, become a janitor, or just take a role that it's not directly to tech, but when you get that role, get you a clearance, get you experience in the government space, and then eventually you'll get that to be, you'll get that and use that to get a clearance. And that's how I did it. I got a clearance doing another job. So just keep applying, and it's going to take a long time. Like for even the clearance process, it can take like almost a year to even attain the clearance, but you just got to keep putting in the work along the way and keep applying. But you can eventually get a clearance. It just takes some time. When it comes to the clearance, the contractor, the contractors pay. The contractors can pay for your clearance, or the agency can pay for your clearance. But overall, somebody is helping you for getting clearance. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so we're about to wind down this live. Remember, everybody, check out the replays. Check out RMF Academy. Get the course POA&M Mastery, and then also join the newsletter to get any updates on what RMF is, news and updates. But go to rmfacademy.com, and I appreciate you. And check the playback. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I'm gonna give you one last minute for questions. Anybody have any questions before I go off? Anybody have any questions? I'm new to cyber. We got Jeremy. I'm new to cybersecurity and also want a senior in college. We have done poems. However, I would like to know what programs you use to document beside Excel because I would like to practice. The only way I would say to practice is, you can check out POA&M Mastery on RMF Academy. You can try to play around with poems or come up with examples, but that's the best way I would say to practice with poems, unless you have access to the software like EMAS or something like that. But other than that, there's not too many. Then it's nothing wrong with using Excel because some companies use Excel, so that's what I would do. Just check out those different ways. Okay, well, I'm gonna give you one more chance. Anybody have any last minute questions? Because we're about to end it. Yeah, it would be on YouTube. It can be it'd be on YouTube. I might keep it on for a little bit, take it off, but it's gonna be on YouTube. Okay, so we got Stephen Bradley. I think I know him. Got my first job in IT, service desk admin. Got my Security Plus and a TS. Should I get my Azure 104 and try to get a system admin role in the government? Yeah, you can try to do that. You can try to do that. You also, for what you're doing now, you can make the transition to cyber too. You have a good background to transfer. Azure, the cloud is what the government's transitioning over to, and I would definitely, look into transitioning that from the cloud. Just to try. You can do that right now. You said, and you have a TS, so yeah, I would definitely do that. If you got a TS, don't let it go, because with TS, you're going to have it for 2 years. I can only speak to the GovTech space. I know in the GovTech space, you got to be an American citizen. There's different GRC roles you can apply for. You just got to learn the skills. Like I said, POAMs, controls, processes, frameworks. You can check it out in Army, RFMF. You can check out RFMF Academy. We have courses on that, and probably need some resume help. If you need some resume help or you need coaching in GRC, check me out too. Hit me up on LinkedIn. We can talk, schedule a meeting to kind of figure out what you're trying to do. But that's the way you can get into GRC. If you have any questions while taking the course, you can always send me a message on LinkedIn or anything. We can just go into more depth about it. So, Reginald, if you take the course, buy the course, check me out. Just reach out to me and I'll get in contact with you if you have any questions. Okay. All right, everybody. I'm going to end the live. We was on about 40 minutes. Again, check out rmfacademy.io. Check it out, and then we can go forward. And then we kind of every week we're going to do something new when it comes to RMF. Either it could be news, anything like that, news, how to do something in the RMF space, and things like that, just to kind of let y'all know how to do this process. And with clearances, it's continuous monitoring. So as long as you have a clearance, it's continuous. As long as you're working a job. If you out of the field for at least 2 years, your clearance is gone. Like I'm talking about, you not working in the government space at all. You can apply for GRC roles. You just have to have the skills. You got a security plus. You got to know what GRC is. You got to know the frameworks. This is for Lily, and that's how you get a GRC role. There's a lot of jobs out here. There's a lot of stuff going on, but there's still jobs. You got to continue to keep applying. Everybody, thank you for watching the live. We're going to end the stream. Check out rmfacademy.io. Join the newsletter. Check out the course, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you, everybody. Bye.